about what happened yesterday on MultiversX. So, of course, first of all, don't hesitate to ask your questions in the comments, and we will try with my guest to answer them as best as we can. Please note that the core team, the MultiversX core team, will be drawing up a post-mortem report in the next few days. Benjamin announced in his daily vlog yesterday. So we are just giving you information which are the result of on-chain analysis. So of course, it's not an official post-mortem, but we'll do our best to explain what happened yesterday. And for this, I will receive my first guest, my friend, my dear Joachim. Hello, Joachim. How are you?
Good morning. Good, good. I was 1 hour early, ready to go, but I'm still ready now. So looking forward to going through. And thank you for the very important disclaimer. As you said, this is from our personal research, the two of us, but also several other people in the ecosystem. And take everything that we say with a grain of salt. Again, we're reading the Explorer, going through interactions with smart contracts, etc. We can make mistakes. So we're just going to see what we found. And again, the postmortem will be the one and only document to look for afterwards.
Sure. You decided to remove any contrast today. You are white with a white.
Yeah. I'm trying to blend in.
Okay. We are receiving a ghost today. No, it's a pleasure to have you, Joachim, and thank you very much. Yesterday, I was not very available during the day when I called you because, like, I received so many messages in private saying, "Jared, what's happening? What's happening?" Hey, guys, I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a non-chain guy, so I'm not the one to ask, but I will do my research, and the one I called first was you, Joachim, and I know you and many other people. We can mention, of course, validators, on-chain analysts, and so on, who tried to figure out what was happening, and you answered me, and you tried to explain me what was happening. So we'll
Indeed.
receive the second guest of today. It's Sila. Hello, Sila. How are you?
Hey everyone, I'm really good. Glad to be here with you. Thanks.
A pleasure. So let's do it like this. So the one who is talking will it be in big? Will be joined in a few minutes by more guests to challenge and to try to understand what happened, but also what will be the impact for MultiversX. Feel free, guys from the audience, of course, to ask your questions in the comment section. We'll try to answer and share all of them. So let's try, and you guys on the private chat, you can say up if you want to take the mic, so it will be easier for me to give the mic. So first, let's start by maybe Joachim. Can you explain us how you or the community you were surrounded by at this time? When and how did you discover that something was happening yesterday?
So I personally was in a meeting and I kept seeing like messages and calls popping up on my phone, and I was like, okay, like I tend to not look at my phone when I'm in meetings, but like this is disproportionate amount of messages. So I started looking, and I was like, Joachim, you need to check this, you need to check this. I was like, okay, sorry, I need to take a pause from my call. I just need to check my message for a second. And then we paused the call because the person I was with is also on MultiversX. We went to our own businesses to look into it. And then it kind of like was a tunnel to try to understand what was happening, and if there was further risks across the ecosystem in general. What about you, Sila?
So I was working on my project and I noticed the messages and in Twitter conversation with other builders. And someone shared the TX of the exploit, so I could investigate a bit more, see the 1.5 quadrillion dollars that were minted on the blockchain. So I was glad that there was so much money in our blockchain.
Highest level ever.
Maybe a bit at our share.
Okay, so what time was it? Do you remember?
Yeah, so it all started at 8:32 a.m. UTC. When I think it's 150 quadrillion to be precise. I actually had to paste the amount for Google to tell me how do you say that amount.
It's simple. It's 5 times 30. So
Yeah,
0,
yeah.
5 times 30 after the 150. So it was yesterday in the morning. You know what? At this time, I was at a conference in France with many like Web3 people, pretty much known in France, and I received so many messages too, like you, saying what's happening, what's happening. And I said, guys, I'm busy today, and they all said, brother, you you never you're never busy, you're always online for 5 years now, and one day you're busy. It's the time that the blockchain is gathering a big thing. And I said, leave me alone, I'll be back tonight. So yeah, so that's why when people say, GRM, you're fighting. No, yesterday I was pretty much light during the day. I let everyone trying to understand. And at the end of the day, of course, I accepted to troll a little bit. And it was funny. But this is how I discovered the thing too. So let's try to understand what happened. So you guys spoke about 150 quadrillion. It's the term USDC token, which has been minted.
Well,
So
that's where it gets a bit technical. They didn't get minted. But I don't know how you want to organize it, but I can go through the events
yes,
to explain it.
let's go. And if I need to interrupt, if I want to know something more, I will.
I
And
know you will do it, so I'm
Sila,
not worried.
it's too long, Joachim. And Sila, of course, feel free to write up in the comment to jump anytime. But yeah, let's go, Joachim.
Cool. So as you say, at 8:32 a.m. UTC, 150 quadrillion USDC appear out of nowhere. They are sent from a multi-sig smart contract that was deployed 52 days earlier. There is some speculation, but again, we're going to be very light on speculation on purpose, that they actually made a mistake, that they have forgot that the USDC only has 6 decimals and not 18, and that they maybe were trying to only extract 150,000, but because they forgot the zeros in difference with the decimals, they actually printed 150 quadrillion, but that is just speculation. And obviously made the transaction way more obvious than what was expected. Again, it seems to, and I'm going to say that a lot, that loophole was discovered around 30 days ago. While performing, maybe by mistake, actually, a transaction to withdraw 100,000 LUCX, a token I had not heard of, that were not in the bounds of the smart contract and yet came out. They tried again 20 minutes later, and it worked again. So they're using a function called propose transfer execute, but I'll go more into detail in that. But this is not the usual transaction we would use in a multi-sig to ask for ESDTs to be transferred. Then back to yesterday, we see that the perpetrator, the actor, tries again at 4:30 a.m. UTC with a small amount of A1X token. 2 times 1,500, and it works too. I think that at that moment they realized, but again, pure speculation, that it works with any token and not only the LUCX. And they try again at 8:15 a.m. with 6,500 HTM. I'll share a link of the Explorer at some point. So they proposed the transfer, the SDTs, to be sent to a different wallet than the one actually proposing it. And before doing the request for the 150 quadrillion USDC, they actually tried to do some swaps. So they sent some EGLD to the wallet who had received the A1X and the Atom, swapped some A1X on X exchange and received some crumbs of EGLD. And then tried again with 1,500 HTM, which is a bit more consequent, and receives 19 EGLD from X exchange that is sent back to the main wallet. We're now back at 8:32 a.m., where the famous 100 and something quadrillion was performed. 20,000 of those USDCs are swapped for a bit under 1,000 EGLD, which again are sent back to the main address. At 9:15, the wallet decides to send all the USDCs to the burn wallet. It's the ERD1 dead. But then at 9:22, they decide to perform it again. This time only, again, I'm going to quote only, creating 300,000 USDCs. 20,000 are converted on X exchange again for 970 EGLD. And then a massive sell order of 280,000 USDCs is created on Exchange, where 50,000 after some minutes are filled for several thousands of wrapped EGLD. When at 9:57 the user tries to unwrap those WEGLDs, it fails because the team has paused the wrapped EGLD token and they are not able to do anything more with those. And then at 10:16, they transfer 975 EGLD to a wallet that is completely clean, has never received anything, and hasn't moved since. So we are a bit unsure of the identity of that wallet. At 3:57 UTC, so after the maintenance, the user cancels the remaining order of 230,000 USDCs on the exchange, and then the remaining USDCs, A1X, Atom, and nearly 2,000 EGLDs are sent to a new wallet, which we believe is controlled by, well, I'm pretty sure it's controlled by the team, and receives 550 EGLD from that main wallet. Some tokens there, like the A1X and the Atoms, are swapped back to balance the transactions that had been taking place earlier in the day and balancing the LPs. And then there are some EGLDs that are sent to the same SEX, so centralized exchange. 89 is the first transaction, 350 and then 380 EGLD. They are sent to different deposit addresses, but they all go to the same centralized exchange. So that's, again, I'm not going to go into speculations into that, just different deposit addresses. And then a bit later, we see an exploit, the same exploit for 3 million USDT, but then are very shortly after sent to the wallet who has the rights to burn USDT, and they are burned, causing no sales at all. So this is kind of like the how it all took place. So there are some EGLDs that, as we said, are sent to the SEX, but most of it has now been returned, tokens have been burned, etc. If you have any further questions, or if we want to talk about the outage and the bug, let me know.
Sarla, do you want to add or ask anything?
No, I think Joachim told mostly everything. From what I saw, almost all the money was sent to the wallet he mentioned. I noticed that there was 975 EGLDs that were sent to another wallet, and it hasn't moved since then.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if this is considered as the price for the hacker or not, etc. Because, and again, that is something that I don't think we should speculate on. We'll wait for the official report on saying what was allowed to be kept, if anything, by the hacker. And also, we'll describe a little bit, because I think that's a very interesting topic about the different types of hackers. But we'll get to that in a bit. So sadly, for the first time and hopefully the last time in the history of MultiversX, the chain was halted. And
so zero downtime doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work anymore. Sadly.
It was a good narrative, but let's find another one.
No, to be honest, like it is something, and you remember we've had I can't remember Olivier, I think from Solana, who came to GM Web3, and like it is like most things, like even a regular Web2 server, you want it to have 100% uptime, but like I think it is to a certain degree idealistic to think that nothing wrong can ever happen. So
Oh, well, you know what?
it
I'm
was
trolling.
so it was so far so good until yesterday.
No, but you know what? You know why I'm trolling? Of course, it's normal that the network can and will in his entire life uh be breakdown. That's like
Yep.
part of the game. It's normal in every technological infrastructure. What is fun and why I'm trolling a little bit, it's because it was one of the things that they repeated like for a month and years, that don't uh, we never stopped the blockchain. The blockchain never broke down, and especially by attacking the other ones who knew this event. So that's why I am tempted to troll a little bit. But of course, fundamentally, I agree, and you know more than me. You are tech guys. That it's part of the game. It's normal. What is important is not if a network never breaks down. It's how long it will take to put it back. First, we'll speak about this,
Yes,
and
because that is a
second,
very important part.
what will be put in place to prevent this situation to happen again. So I think it's what will be interesting to analyze. First, question for you guys. Um, they spoke about a bug, but it's not a protocol issue, it's a bug. So I'm trying to understand. So can you tell us in a very cold way, okay, what is it? How do you call this kind of thing? Is it a mistake? Is it a human mistake? Is it something that was forgetting in the code? Is it a situation that maybe the core team didn't anticipated? So how do you analyze the mistake, as far as we know, of course?
Yeah, do you wanna say something, sir?
No, go ahead. I think you
Okay.
understand the bug more than me.
So the reality is all the bugs have a human error behind them, right? Like like you can call it whatever it is. By the end of the day, there's always a human error. Like there is either it can be material, like something hasn't been soldered properly, etc., or it can be programmatically, which was the case here. So basically, the function that was used isn't supposed to be used for that use case, and basically because of that, there is kind of like a basic if check that seemed to have been missing to check that the smart contract or the address for that transaction has the actually required balance. And that's why I said it's very important that actually the tokens aren't minted, because the smart contract didn't have the authority to mint. The As far as I know, the supply actually didn't go up because the protocol wasn't made aware that new tokens were minted. What happened is that there was a transfer that was triggered, and the transfer didn't check the balance. It just forgot that to do that, and so the transfer would send tokens that in theory don't exist and update the balance of that wallet, and therefore allowing them to move further. The fix was fixed very quickly by the team working on the VM side, and the the downtime was of around 2 hours and 32 minutes when no blocks were produced, while the validators were upgrading to the latest version and obviously testing it. And then it resumed with the fix being patched. And if you look, for the people who are a bit interested, if you look on the GitHub and you look at the last release flag, you will see that like there's very few lines of codes that are actually changed. It is a very small fix, which is kind of like, yeah, again, it's just basically an additional verification that the balance is actually there. It's those kind of things where just like, yeah, it seems so simple and yet it's so easy to forget. Um,
Um, the thing is, Robert um, commented a post I did by saying it was audited. We are currently audited by and with Axelar. So, you guys, how such mistake can be uh, forgotten or can be unseen? Is it something like normal? It happens, it's part of the game? Or is it really something weird? I'm really trying to understand, because when you tell me, okay, it's so obvious that you need to check the,
no, so
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. So the reality is that like once you see it, it's obvious. But it is again, it's an edge case because this function is not supposed to be used in that manner. So basically, what you do when you develop code is you write tests. And yes, we'll share the GitHub link. Um, you you run tests, and so basically you write hundreds of thousands of scenarios of everything that can happen on a chain, and each time you produce a new version of the chain, all those tests are run, and obviously they have all to pass to make sure that that new code hasn't changed the properties in something and made it exploitable. The reality here, and that is part of it, is that this um, error, this bug, is actually a quite old one. It just hadn't been realized until recently. From again, take with a grain of salt, but from what we've seen, it is at least 2 years old, if not longer. But no one had, because again, no one uses the smart contract in that way. No one had realized it. So basically, tests have been kept running and running and running, and they all made clear because no one thought about that edge case. And obviously now new tests have been added to check for that. So even with, as you say, audit teams, etc., it is easy to miss it if you don't think about it, that actually someone could use that for that purpose. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. Um, the question is, so we found out can you check, Joachim, Javier from Jake send us the patch on GitHub. So if you can share it to the audience, would be great. On Telegram, we have a chat about this. Yeah. So let's continue to try to understand. So you and the core team, of course, discovered the issue, and so they decided to stop the blockchain. So the question that we have in the comment, and that we all want to know, see, how can we stop the blockchain? I will read the comment. Is there a red button in Benny's office to stop the chain intentionally? Or is it like a proposal to the validators and they make consensus to decide to stop? So, do you guys know how we can stop? We can make blocks stopping from being created. So, do you know how it happens?
So there was a call with validators, which I wasn't part of. So I can't tell you everything in detail, but from Robert Sassoon, one of Robert Sassoon's tweet, there was a call of the validators where they said they announced to halt the chain, and basically it looked like some of the validators that weren't part of that call, their validators weren't able to communicate with others, and therefore weren't able to submit and approve blocks. And also, it is important to know that before that happened, the MultiversX team decided to shut down the API infrastructures, and so the API.
The API was working just fine during the whole issue.
Not no, the gateway, for example, was down.
Yeah, the Explorer was down, but we could still access the on-chain data through the API and internal or public one.
I'm pretty sure the gateway was down, but I might be wrong.
Well, at least I tried to
Yeah,
work
yeah.
on this, and I built a mini website to fetch the data from the event, and so I could get all through the API. But yeah,
Okay.
the Explorer was you couldn't access the Explorer.
No, the Explorer had the like maintenance banner on it, but I felt like I did try to do some. But anyway, I know that the gateway was down.
Why did they stop the Explorer? Why?
My guess would be to prevent people from seeing what the issue was actually and try to replicate it before a fix was launched. Maybe, but as the data was still accessible through API, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, that's I guess what we would call in classic Web 2 like a 0 day, meaning that you discover at the same time as everyone else the error. And here they were able to find, as we said, very impressive work by the whole MultiversX team on finding the bug, deploying, etc. There's no doubt on that. But basically, you are in a race against the clock because anyone else can, and especially on a blockchain which is open, can just look at a transaction and try to imitate it. And obviously, the more people do it, the more it becomes a nightmare to manage and isolate.
Okay, thank you. Let's maybe continue. So, what do we know about the hacker, or we can maybe call him like an exploit user? Because let's maybe make the difference between both. A hacker will like be like a pirate. He will use code to try to to hack something. But as we can understand now, the guy or the girl, we don't know, just used a flow. So how would you define this guy? And after we'll try to understand if it was malicious, if it was like a white hat, if it was more like a gray hack, or it was just a troll trying to have fun. Because yes, 150 quadrillion is way too much. So we guessed that maybe.
What?
Sorry.
I didn't realize that was too much.
Yeah. So
What's the US depth again?
it's less.
Yeah, no, it did. But
US debt is 34 trillion.
yeah.
So it's way less.
So
Stop.
he could have repaid. He should have called Trump.
Definitely. So yes. So what's your opinion, guys, about this guy? And I can tell the community that the guy should speak sooner or later. So who wants to?
If there's a big if, because again the conclusion funds were sent back to the team, etc. There is a high likelihood that that person signed an NDA and are now leaving all communication to be taking care of the team. So we might not hear from them on that subject. But the
guy,
yeah,
the guy could talk.
well, yeah, but that would be, again, if I signed an NDA, that would be a legal risk.
Yes, if he's doxed, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
let's go.
As you say, from the looks of it, and the interactions, because there was some interactions that we saw on X, it doesn't seem to be the most technical guy. It isn't someone who's a hacker full time. It looks like someone who found that exploit and decided to push it a bit further after he found it. But the reality is that a hacker does that too. The difference is that a hacker looks for it. He seems to just have stumbled across it. but the outcome and the way they do it is kind of similar, except that a hacker, for example, will, for example, when you deploy, if you're a bit technical, if you deploy a website or a server, you will very often see in the first seconds after you've deployed the server that someone is trying to call different endpoints on your server to see if you have exposed different files that could give them control over your server or API keys, etc. So that is called crawlers. Basically, they're bots by hackers that try to find information on the net. So this is kind of like voluntarily trying to find things and break things. And then you have a bit the stumble, like in the same way as like if you ordered something on McDonald's and suddenly you see that you can add as many Big Macs as you want and it doesn't increase the price, you're still in theory doing something illegal because you are aware that is not how it's supposed to work, and you're benefiting from it. So you are, in theory, exploiting a vulnerability and could be considered a hacker. But I think that's where it's very interesting to discuss white, gray, and black hat. But let Sila add anything if you.
Yeah, on my side, I think the situation is a bit weird because, as we saw, he sent back the money at the end. We'll see if he sends everything or if he has a price for himself. And to know if he's more white or black out, it's a bit weird because his wallet was connected to activity since 2023. And I saw someone who told that the wallet was linked to a Binance KYC account. So if they were malicious, I think they would have started from a whole fresh account. But at the same time, as Joachim told at the beginning, when he minted the 1,050 quadrillion USDC, it may be an error from the decimal amount. And when he burned it, he did it twice because the first time it's the same issue. He didn't put the right amount of decimal, so the amount burned was less. And we also saw him swap a USDC for wrapped egld or sending to other wallets. So it's not really clear when if it was with a good intent or a malicious one. When it was when he came into discussion with the MVX team to solve the issue. So I think the best would be to wait for more official information about from the MVX team or the concerned member to better grasp what happened.
I 100% agree. I'll just add one thing. This, and I think that is an important definition to have. This can't have been a white hat. And I think it's important to discuss the definitions of the different types of hackers, because again, it doesn't mean that he had malicious intents, but a white hat hacker. I'm going to read the definition, and we can discuss it a bit further because I don't want to make it sound like it's something personal. I took it from a security research website. A white hat hacker, also known as an ethical hacker, is a security specialist hired to find vulnerabilities in software, hardware, and networks that black hats might find and target. Unlike black hats, white hats only hack networks when legally permitted to do so. White hats disclose all vulnerability to their employers. White hats also disclose vulnerability to the vendors whose software or hardware is affected so they can patch other customer systems. White hat hacking techniques include penetration testing and vulnerability assessment. So if we take what happened on the white hat point of view, the white hat might have realized that error on the mainnet, would have then checked what was going on, maybe done a discrete transaction on the devnet or testnet to not raise any suspicion, and so no one would replicate what he was doing, and then written a report and submitted the report to the MultiversX core team and saying, okay, I found this exploit. This is actually pretty bad. And then the core team would probably have had a patch update in the same way, but first of all, we wouldn't have had that many tokens being minted. We wouldn't have seen funds being moved to centralized exchanges. And most of all, we wouldn't have had the blockchain being halted at all, because that would have been taken care behind closed doors. So I would define what happened as a gray hat, and therefore like someone who did actually do the exploit on the mainnet, but decided to work with the entity being exploited, in this case, the MultiversX core team, on mediating for a solution. And so being a grey hat is a risk because you are doing something that could be considered as illegal. And that is where you have platforms that actually help hackers to be put in contact and protected with lawyers, etc., if they find such exploit or use such exploits to then get a bug bounty, etc. And I think that is where it's the last part of my topic is going to be about that. It's going to be about bug bounties and incentives. And again, now we're going back into speculation grounds. If there was clear bounties that were announced, let's say up to 100,000, if you found a protocol level flaw, would the actor have been more interested in then submitting it and claiming a bounty rather than actually exploiting it? And that's where I think that platforms like HackerOne, I'm going to take it as an example, I'm not sponsored or anything, is a platform where you have a lot of companies who put out and saying, if you find a vulnerability, depending on how important that vulnerability is, we can pay you between $500 and $100,000, depending on the companies. And a lot of very good ethical hackers use those platforms to gain a living and by contributing in making the space much more secure. So I guess my takeaway is we should probably showcase and have bug bounties for blockchains too. I saw that, for example, Magic Eden, which is a Solana NFT marketplace, and well, now EVM too, but anyway, has massive bounties on that platform. So maybe it is something we should consider too as protocol and products on MultiversX.
Okay, Saila, want to add anything?
No, I think, as Joachim said, it's important to have a bug bounty program to encourage white hat hackers to check the network, and if anyone finds a flaw, to have a clear process to report it and be rewarded for it, and to prevent malicious actors from being tempted to use it for their own gain.
100%.
Definitely important, crucial, and really needed. So we can mention, of course, and we can congratulate the core team, the validators, for being reactive, because the fix was made and pushed through the nodes in like less than 3 hours. It was a 2 hour and a half and something like that. So you told me, Joachim, that yes, it's a small amount of time, because we don't know. Some could think it's so long, 2 hour and a half. Can you explain?
I'm sure for them it felt like days as they were coding it, because as you say, every
But,
second counts.
When yesterday you told me what was your position about the situation, you told me it was just a missing line, or maybe you're missing lines on the code.
Lines, but yeah.
So now we know that. Of course, when you tell me, I'd say, okay, so you just add the lines and that's it, and it can take like 5 minutes. Because I'm and you answered me, it's not that simple. So can you explain why it took 2 hours and not just a few minutes, according to, of course?
Yeah. So basically, as you've seen with Andromeda and all the previous updates, usually an update is diligently tested on a private testnet by the team. Then, as I was saying, it runs the batteries of tests that they do at every time they commit a Git to one of the main branches. And then it goes on the testnet, lives for a couple of weeks on the test net, running all the tests on the test net. Sometimes they have to reset the test net. Then it moves to DevNet, which this one has a tendency is a good way of testing because this one resets very, very rarely. I think it's been over a year now since last DevNet reset. And so it allows you to check that the transition is going well too, because obviously it needs to be retro compatible in sense with all the transactions and everything that has happened and the state of the chain that has happened. And then it goes into production on the main branch. So you basically have this window that usually takes weeks of careful testing, etc., that you have to deploy in an extremely fast manner. But you don't want to open the door for new exploits, crash the chain again. There's so many things that can go wrong, and that's why you actually have to run quite a lot of tests before you can deploy such a what I call a hotfix. I don't know if you want to add anything, Sila.
No, I just wanted to say that I think this event shows a bit of the resilience from the community, the team members, the validators, and how everyone gathered together to fix this issue as fast as possible so the chain could resume. And I think there is more harm done in not being able to use the zero downtime narratives than having a downtime in itself.
Thank you very much, guys. So let's maybe continue a bit about what happened and maybe to analyze what I thought, because the bug is something not very complex. I think we all agree on this. No?
Well, we're still talking about the VM of a blockchain, which like a very, very low percentage of people, like I wouldn't code VM stuff. I wouldn't touch it with a 10 feet pole because it scares the hell out of me. Well, I'm saying that we do have our own private test nets where they code different, but anyway. So like it is its own language and its own logic, and basically the people who did the fix knew what to connect, because it's 3 lines of code, but that obviously is not just pure code. It uses other functions from other parts of the code, etc. So you need the knowledge. If like you had sent me in there, I would probably have spent 3 days just trying to understand where it's actually coming from. So it's easy for someone who knows how the whole machine, the VM, works. I think if you send a random dev in there, he'll need quite a few days.
Thank you for the precision, and of course I'm challenging you, and you're here to correct me. Okay, so thank you for playing this role with me. But like what I say, it's not a complex thing. It doesn't require like great skills in coding, hacking, and so on. This is what I meant.
Oh, from the exploiter part.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that was yeah.
That was what my point. But thank you for asking me to precise, of course. So what leads me to think about something pretty scary. But maybe I'm wrong, and you guys are here to give me your opinion about that. MultiversX at the moment is not very attractive. Okay, not a lot of users, not a lot of liquidity. It's not interoperable, so you cannot withdraw large amount of money out of the ecosystem, especially stable coins, because we don't have a big supply of native stable coins. Few millions,
and the bridge is capped at 50,000 by
so the supply is not big for the native ones, and for the non-native one the supply is not big too, but the bridge is above all limited, 50K I think. So yes, so even if you exploit the blockchain, you cannot like exploit a lot of money. Okay, and even if you take a lot of money, you cannot really like withdraw a lot of it. So imagine, so we don't attract great hackers. That's my point, because they don't have the return on investment, because this is how it works. The cyber security is about how much I will spend in this exploit and how much I can win from it. Okay, it's just a balance of cost and results, potential results. So imagine if tomorrow MultiversX is more attractive and is interoperable, so all the bridges opens, so liquidity can enter, can go out, and so on. So that's my point. What do you think about that? Do you think we absolutely need to anticipate the adoption with API problems that we known before, with this bugs, flows, I don't know how to call it, before we are attractive? Because it can come very fast. You know how crypto market is. We can it can be very, very fast. In a few months we can pass from top 117 to top 50. It's possible in this ecosystem. So what do you think about that? Is it a real risk? And if yes, what should be done by the foundation? Because in my opinion, it's their job to do it. What should they do to anticipate this adoption that we all want? By the way, who wants to start about this?
I can start. I think that adoption or not, security was one of the key elements of MultiversX since the inception. Security for the users and security for the ecosystem. For example, no minimum extraction value or no system like that where just being on the blockchain you get your own asset extracted. So I think this exploit is not a wake-up call, but it just tells us to double down on security, on auditing, on being sure every process is working fine. And even if there is adoption, even if there is no adoption, we have to be full secure. And if there is adoption, even more. But we don't need to wait for adoption to be fully secure, and we have to do everything in our process. And we've seen many chains with bigger problems than this one, not failing and just keep thriving. For example, Solana with several downtimes, or the blockchain with exploits. So I think security is just the key at any moment, be adoption or not.
So I think I'll add, and then I'll go back to the API and infrastructure part, GRM, because I think that's a separate topic, but a very interesting one. As you say, like the more you become attractive, the higher you have TVL. So therefore, like the higher there is potential of funds being to steal, the more attractive you become to hackers. But also because you are more attractive in general, you have more devs, and therefore you have more ethical hackers or devs just finding an issue and reporting the issue. So I think it kind of like compensates each other by the fact that like you get more good people, and yes, you get a few more bad actors, but hopefully one outweighs the other. And as we know, like it's very hard to know about security, because most of the time you don't know. Well, if you knew something could go wrong before it went wrong, then you're probably quite a lousy developer. Because if you knew something could go wrong and you didn't fix it, that is laziness. So I think this is scenarios that can happen, as you say. Thankfully, due to the limited bridges, limited tokens being listed on other bridges and other exchanges, it made it quite easily to contain. But also, again, and we already have people who have looked into it. I don't want to say names, but who have checked if there has been several other exploits of that function, and looks like not. But we kind of got lucky in the sense that the person printed that much tokens, because had they like print like 1,000 here and there from time to time, it could have gone unnoticed for longer. and or if it was actually a targeted attack, the goal was to harm MultiversX, they could have used more aggressive methods. So in all, it is kind of like a fortunate situation in an unfortunate one, if that makes sense. When it comes to the infrastructure, GM, that is a very good question, but I think that doesn't really come to security. That comes more to the lack of incentives, monetary incentives, again, because of adoptions to offer services of API infrastructure, etc. on MultiversX. Because we are actually one of the chains which has one of the most generous public APIs, which has kind of backfired, and because therefore a lot of projects use the public API instead of developing their own infrastructure, and that is why we're lacking infrastructure that could have helped for when there's high requests. Because basically, as soon as there's high requests, everyone is bouncing on the same API, creating havoc. So I know there's several actors. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I won't go any further. But that are now working on offering private API solutions with therefore a high rate limiting for projects, and therefore hopefully we will see more and more projects pay for those solutions instead of using the free public API, and maybe increasing the limit rate on the public API to incentivize projects to actually pay for other projects building infrastructure. So I think that is actually going to solve itself, because as you say, JRM, it's been a problem for several times, and it has given that impression that confusion that the chain is down when it's not. So yeah, I think we're actually going towards better times when it comes to that.
Thank you very much. Let's speak about the impact for MultiversX ecosystem, reputation, and the next steps. Of course, it will be just about hypothesis. Do you think it will strengthen the ecosystem? We remember the hack on X exchange, and I don't know if you remember a few years ago, the team reacted very well. The marketing was perfect. They were explaining what they were doing like every 2 hours, for example, on Twitter. They organized one or two like AMA on Twitter to answer the question, to reassure the community, and so on. Of course, they made the post-mortem thing after, so it was very well handled. And I remember this made the community stronger. Like we are all together in face of this situation that can happen, of course, everywhere. Do you think it will be the same this time? First. Second, do you think there will be delay for Andromeda, Axelar integration, all of things that we are all expecting and they are communicating about for a month now? So yeah, what's your hypothesis about this? Or it will be just fixed and let's move on, and it will not have any like long-term impact on MultiversX?
I think for the community itself, it will keep strengthening it, showing that the team is here to fix everything and to react as soon as needed when such an exploit is found. But this will also give some more room to talk for the MultiversX haters. Will criticize the downtime, the lack of security, or whatever. And regarding the future development evolution, I don't think it will delay their release, because everything should already been done for its security. So I don't think that this exploit will have them double down on the security, because it should be already perfect. I hope.
Yeah, to just add on top of that, it's how to put it? It's like you're building a castle out of Legos, right? And the update is just adding new bricks on top of something that already exists. So basically, what what's found yesterday was a missing brick, to put it simple, at the base of the castle, because it was done a very long time ago, and now they've added that piece back. But it doesn't. What they're adding on top of it is the same, meaning that had they done it before yesterday, had Andromeda gone live before yesterday, it wouldn't have been worse or any better in regards to the exploit. The missing brick would still have been there. We would just have built more and more things on top. So, in a sense, there might still be errors in the protocol that we will discover down the road. Again, hopefully not. No one wants that. But that doesn't mean that it would be because of Andromeda, because again, as we said, the Andromeda code has been now tested, etc. And in reality, it's much less code, so you can be much more careful about it, because you already have this whole engine running, and you're just adding a little thing on top, so you can be very, very careful that little thing interacts with everything as it should. And that's why there's been several patches already on Andromeda to make sure that it is flawlessly working. So it might be a couple like days of delay just to make sure that the new fix works with that, etc. But I don't think there should be any major delays because of that. And yeah, when it comes to reputation, yeah, as you say, we can't say zero downtime anymore. That sucks, but it's life. I mean, we can't go back in time. That's the whole point of blockchain, right? We just produce one way. So yeah, I think it's a lesson. I think it's also a lesson, as you said, Jerem, a little bit in humility. That maybe do not criticize so easily what other chains, because something might as well happen to yours. You never know, and now we know. But yeah, I think the community will recover. Hopefully indirectly. Like, I think it's not a good thing, but like, we learn together. Like, we've been discussing hacking practices, how the protocol works, and so we've all grown wiser in a sense through this event. And it brought us all together. I mean, I've never seen so many people. So we have a few different chats, but like, I've never seen so many people online in the chats, like trying to work out together. Like, it is a unifying moment in the chaos of all of it. So there's still some good, I think, to be taken out of it.
Okay. Thank you very much. But yes, of course, it's the important. But I can see that I'm not sure they will learn from it in terms of humility, because during the thing, Robert kept saying that EVM was bullshit.
Well,
But anyway, you know what? I spoke about it with a friend of mine, and he told me, you know what? I respect that, because he has conviction. So why not? And
yeah.
yeah, I pretty much agree. But yeah, it was
I,
maybe.
I forgot the English expression, but in French we say faire fuir le naturel, il revient au galop. So scare away your nature, and it comes back running. So yeah, I think we actually have quite a similar one in English, but I can't remember it. So you've got the French version of it.
Okay. We have a question. Why deposits and withdrawals on CEX are not enabled yet? Do you have any information about that?
I personally do not, but if Santrox, you could specify which sex we are talking about, that would be great. But the reality is that as a sex, you keep an eye out for those kind of events, because if suddenly someone deposits infinite money into your sex and starts swapping it against other tokens, you're certainly putting at risk other ecosystems, but also obviously your balance sheet. So I think there's probably going to be calls between the sexes and the team to make sure that everything is back to normal and there's nothing to be worried about. And yeah, I just saw the second message, but that, again, I think we've covered that in depth. We don't need to go into detail.
Okay. Okay. MVX, the most scalable and secure.
Yeah, that's what I was reacting to.
Really good. Oh, it's fun. Okay. Do you have anything to add, guys? And because we don't have no more question in the comment section.
No, I think we've gone through everything that we had to say. Again, wait for the official report before jumping to conclusions. What we shared was our personal findings. With again, we work quite a lot and we proofread each other. But one of the reasons I really wanted to do this, to be completely transparent with you, is because I want anyone reading the report and that followed this episode today to have the information and the understanding when reading the report. I think that is actually quite useful. And as you said, I think it's a great learning session for everyone involved.
Tyler?
Yeah, I agree with Joachim. We need to wait for the post-mortem and the official information. What we shared was what we saw on the blockchain through the blocks and the API. But it's just the data itself, and we need to know more about the reason behind it.
But that's the beauty of blockchain, right?
Yeah,
We get to see everything as it unfolds.
that's the truth. And what I really like is everything is open. You can just go ahead, check yourself. It's verified by yourself at the core.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys, for taking the time to come this morning. Of course, next week on Wednesday, we will speak about the post-mortem report that normally should have been like delivered by then. But yeah, I would conclude by what I tweeted yesterday in response of someone who asked me if it was let me find the he wrote is it the final nail in MVX coffin? And I said not at all. It's just a nodule like others have experienced before them. It's just a question of what they will do to prevent it from happening too often. And the most important thing is to move on and to be better and to continue like this. And in a technological part, we never had like except delay on roadmap, but it's part of the game. But in terms of technology, I think we never had anything to say about their skills. So yeah, I would conclude this way from my part. Thank you very much, Joachim. Really, I hope you will have some time to rest. I know you did not sleep a lot. I don't know if it's the same for you, Sila, but thank you very much for coming this morning too. Take care of yourself, and see you soon on GM Web3, guys.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this show, the AMA, and like unofficial post-mortem of what happened on MultiversX yesterday. I thank again, of course, our two partners of the show, Atom Protocol, EAPS NFT Collection. You can find their links in the description on YouTube and on the podcast. And see you next Wednesday for a new show about new topics. Maybe we'll speak about the narrative that Benjamin is still looking for, and it was planned for today, but of course we had to prioritize what's happening in live. Take care. Of course, you can find the replay of this show on YouTube and on podcast, and don't forget to give us some strength, like, rates, subscribe, comments, bells, and so on. Thank you very much, and see you very soon. Bye bye.